You know, when it comes to medication, there are some things that you're never really prepared for. The thing that I wasn't prepared for was that I was going to have some serious nightmares. I had just started on about 20 milligrams of a certain medication which I won't name for personal reasons. But I would take the pill at night, and then I would go to bed. That way it could kick in while I was sleeping. This was a mistake, because I wound up having possibly the worst nightmare I've ever dealt with, and it shook me for days. The dream started when I was in my grandmother's house, up in Pennsylvania. Big house, big yard, right near a highway. And my grandmother, being the 80-something-year-old woman that she is, has a thing for giving people gifts. In the dream, I got a gift, and it was an anklet. But it, at the same time, wasn't. I wound up being chained to the dinner table. And then these strangers came into the house. I was their slave for who knew how long. I had to get food and drinks for them in the kitchen while I wasn't allowed to eat. The chain around my ankle was enough for me to go most places in the house, but I couldn't get to the front door, and even if I could, there was no one else I knew in the area that could help me. I had to tend to their little spoiled brats all day and all night. And it gets worse. One of the men, younger man, there were a few of them, I think, let me have my cell phone, which had been hidden in the basement and still had enough battery life for me to contact my dad and tell him that I was being held captive. I should have known that it was strange when no one tried to stop me. I had had enough by the time night fell. Now, in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of rodent problems, groundhogs mostly. They invade my grandmother's yard and create holes which she or someone else could step in and hurt themselves. So I went into her room, and I saw what I thought was some sort of gas gun. Well, I thought it was a gas gun. I managed to get free of the chain around my leg, and I picked up the gun. And I decided that, since my dad was probably an hour away by the time I found the weapon, I could probably gas everyone in the house and escape. And then we could find out what happened to my grandmother, why she was crazy all of a sudden. And everyone was in the living room, just watching TV. I held the gun up, and I aimed at one of the older men's faces. He went down quick, his face covered in a green goo. I don't know how the gun worked, but I had to aim for the faces. In no time flat, everyone was passed out on the floor, even my grandmother, even the children, everyone, except for me. And then, the dream turned into a total nightmare. You see, I've been diagnosed with several things, and one of my greatest fears is, well, losing my grip on reality. In the dream, I had done just that. It wasn't a chain around my ankle. It really was an anklet that my grandmother had bought for me. There was a reason that I could find my cell phone in the basement. I had left it down there by mistake, and the man who helped me find it was one of my older cousins. And the strangers that were in the house, they were all my family. And the things they had me doing, they weren't bad. I was just doing what they asked me. But the anklet clouded my mind. It had to have been the anklet, I knew it. Because the gas gun, the one that shot green goo at everyone's faces, it wasn't a gas gun. It was a shotgun that my grandmother would use for groundhogs and coyotes. In my nightmare, I had killed my entire family. And the nightmare ended with my dad opening the door. I don't sleep well anymore.